Okay, when setting up your winning agency, we have to pick a critical number. That comes after we open up the books, teach the numbers, we create a scoreboard, we start forward forecasting, and then once we get into that rhythm, and we probably play a mini game by then, which is a 30-day challenge, 30 to 90-day challenge, to correct something in the business to get off on the right foot. Then once we're ready, we need to pick a critical number. Now, I want to discuss critical numbers here really briefly, and the definition of critical number in the Great Game of Business, in their workbooks, and when you're self-implementing like I did before I became a certified coach, is a little misleading. And when the first couple of clients that I coached, describing the critical number in this way was confusing to them, and it led to confusion in picking the wrong critical number at first. So let's get into it. The definition that by the book, what it says is an operational or financial number that represents a weakness or vulnerability that, if not addressed and corrected, will negatively impact the overall performance and long-term security of the business. Think of it as your one thing, the one thing that any given time is going to have the greatest impact on your business, the one thing you must improve to succeed, and that clearly defines winning. So examples of critical numbers are gross margin, rework percentage, conversion rate, return on assets, profit before tax, diversification, billable hours, the list goes on. When you're looking at the company's critical number, because there are multiple critical numbers, there's the company's critical number, that's the one critical number, and then there are critical numbers for your departments or your teams on their particular scoreboard. What is the one thing on their scoreboard that makes the most sense? So for like sales and marketing, for example, you might be focused at any given time on traffic or conversion rates or appointments set or closing rate from appointment to new clients. So, but we're talking about critical numbers for the entire business. The one critical number that you want the entire company to focus on, like this is the one number that shows everyone in the company whether we're healthy or not, and whether we're doing a good job, whether we're winning or losing. So a few thoughts on that. A lot of people will think revenue right away, but revenue is not a great critical number, and here's why. The critical number needs to also teach everyone in the company the business. So revenue doesn't really do that, because revenue only looks at the top line sales number. Also, everyone in the company needs to be able to impact that critical number. That's really where the magic happens, where everyone has line of sight from their actions to the critical number of the company. So if it's like revenue, for example, a lot of times people's actions in, let's say, content, or if they're working for clients, it's not going to directly impact revenue. Yes, it will keep clients happy and keep them on board. Maybe there's other examples that we can think of that where it wouldn't, where they would not have line of sight. But revenue is not great because it doesn't teach every single person in the company the business, and it doesn't give line of sight to each and every employee into the overall success of the company. So profit is better, especially for the first couple of years. Profit is probably the one to go with. If you have debt, if you have things that are coming off the balance sheet after profit, like principal payments, then net cash is probably even better, because it shows people all of the revenue, the COGS, gross margin, expenses, your profit, and things from the balance sheet like principal that impacts. So everything is involved here. So it's teaching everyone the business from top to bottom, and it really gives you a critical number. I think net cash gives you a critical number, at least at the beginning, that teaches everyone the business and gives every single person line of sight into how they can help the company succeed. So a couple of like checklist items for the critical number, and we probably talked about this already, but the critical number is important to the success of the company. The critical number is important to your people's success. The issue of the line of sight. So your people's success, the critical number also needs to be able to pay the bonus pool and have that bonus pool be self-funding. The issues of the line of sight tool support the selection of the critical number. So essentially every single person in the company, their drivers, their KPIs can impact this critical number. It ranks high on the company's list of priorities. The team hasn't been included in the selection of the critical number, so at least you've asked the team what they think the critical number should be. If you do nothing with the critical number, your company would be impacted significantly. Attaining the critical number is reasonable and achievable, so that's also a very good point. It should be a number. It shouldn't be just some metric, like the name of a metric. It needs to be like, we need to make a loan payment. We need to make this amount of money in net cash every single month in order to be okay and to keep growing and to be stable. Business literacy is realized by focusing on the critical number. Everyone in the organization understands the critical number and what drivers they can use to influence it. The critical number keeps people focused on the fundamentals of the business, which is making money and generating cash. The critical number makes the company stronger by eliminating your weaknesses and growing strategically. And the critical number educates people about the different aspects of the business that teach people exactly what it takes to be successful. So that was just kind of a recap of what we talked about, really. But the critical number for the company needs to truly determine or gauge the level of health and success of the company. It needs to teach people the business, and it needs to allow people line of sight from their actions to the success and to the success of the company. And so that you can teach people that their actions matter and how their actions impact the critical number and the success of the company. So that was a long-winded way of talking about the critical number, but super important after you have your scoreboard up, after you start forward forecasting, after your team knows a little bit, at least the leadership knows a little bit about the business and how money is made. We need to pick a critical number. This is the target that is going to determine if you're winning or losing, and if you're a winning agency or not. All right, so this has been Nick Kringus with Open Book CFO. Thanks for watching.